Okay. So we had started with the first lesson, that is structure of computer system. We had seen the definition of computer system, that how do we define a computer. It is a electronic device made up of many small chips which control certain set of instructions. Those instructions are nothing but the program. So we give a program as an input to the system. The system will accept that input. It will process that input and generate a information in the form of the output. Once the information is being generated as an output, it stores the result in the memory. Then we had seen what are the functionalities of the computer. The system accepts the information or the input in a form of a data. After that data is being captured, it is a duty of CPU to process that data. Once the processing is being completed, it generates the output, which is also called as information. And it keeps on repeating this entire process, and it controls each and every step until and unless the input request does not stop from the user's end. Then we had seen what do we require if we want a entire computer system to be set up. We require a hardwares, we require different softwares. But if we also want that our system should communicate with other system, so we also require a network system for that, or a network setup for that, which is possible with an internet connection line by making use of some network devices like routers, switches, bridges. All these are different network devices. The ones which we use at our home are nothing but the routers. Then we had seen what are the components of a computer system. We have three main components: the hardware, software, and the user. Out of which, if we do not have any single component, my system cannot function. If I do not have a hardware, I cannot give any type of input, neither I can observe any type of output. If I do not have a software, which means if I do not have an operating system, even if I give any type of input, or even if I want to see any kind of the output, I cannot see, because there is no communication between the hardware and the user. And the last is the user component. So if you do not have any way of accepting the input, or if you do not have anybody to give the input, your system is never going to process any kind of data. So all the three components work in hand for an entire computer system to operate. Then we had seen the definition of a hardware, that whatever we can touch and feel is considered to be as a hardware. So we had seen what are the different types of hardware. We have monitor, we have keyboard, we have system units, we have speakers, we have modem, routers, mouse, printers. All these are different types of hardware devices. Then we had seen what are input device. What is input device? The device which tries to give a input or tries to give a data to the system is considered to be as a input. What is a function, or what is a responsibility after that input is given? It translates the human language into a machine language, which is nothing but a binary in the form of zeros and ones. The system will process that input into the binary language. After that, once it wants to produce that input as an output to the user, it will convert that machine language back to the human language. So we had seen what are the different types of input devices. We have keyboard, mouse, microphone, webcam, scanner, touch screens, joystick, trackballs, digital cameras, barcode reader, tablets, pen input, that is your stylus. All these are considered to be as a input devices. Then we had seen the second component of your computer system, which is CPU, which stands for Central Processing Unit. We had also seen that why do we call it as a unit? Because it consists of many subcomponents. What are those subcomponents? We have first as ALU, which stands for Arithmetic and Logic Unit. Then we have second component called as CU, which is nothing but a control unit. Then we have a third component called as register. We had also seen what is the function of each and every individual unit. So first was the ALU, that is Arithmetic and Logic Unit. So entire brain work of your computer system, that is all the calculations, let it be arithmetic calculations or the logical calculations, are done by your ALU part of the control unit. Then we had seen what is a function of a control unit. It not only controls the register, the ALU, but it also controls each and every part right from the input given by the user till the output produced to the user. So what are its function? It reads a code for the next instruction to be executed. It will also increment the program counter. Now we had seen increment the program counter means what? We had a component called as PC. What is the function of that PC? It stands for program counter. What was that program counter doing? If a program has 5 instructions, it is always going to point whichever is the next instruction to be executed. If you remember, I had given you a program or a 5 instruction of addition of two numbers, like add int a, int b, add a plus b, store the result into C. So first it will execute int a. So what it will do is your program counter will initially point to int a. Once the int A has started its execution, the program counter will automatically increment and go to the second instruction, which is int B. Once the int B has gone for the execution, it will point the next instruction, which is A plus B is equal to C. So what is the function of that program counter? It will keep on incrementing, or it will keep on telling you which is the next instruction that has to be executed. So that control work of the program counter is also done by the control unit. Then next we had seen what is registers. What are registers? It is nothing but a way how the data is stored inside your cache memory. Why it is stored inside the cache memory? Because the data is retrieved faster as it is a part of the processor itself. Therefore, the way in which the cache memory is storing the data is nothing but in the form of a registers. Okay, and therefore it is called as very fast storage area. Why? Because it is there inside the processor itself. So it is going to store the data at a very high speed as compared to that of your RAM and your hard disk. Again, if I want to retrieve that data, it is going to retrieve it in a very fast speed as compared to your RAM and hard disk. Okay, so up till this we had seen in the last lecture. Now before we continue, we have already done the revision. Let us play a small quiz. Is my screen visible? Nishit?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. Now what are you supposed to do is go to your Google and type slido.com. Every one of you go to your Google Chrome and type slido.com. And after you type, it will ask you to enter a code. You're supposed to enter this code Y648. Type and give this answers. Let us see if you can answer this.
Done, ma'am.
Are you all doing?
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Yeah. Jay, is it done? Okay, 37 students have done.
No, I'm doing.
Okay, do. Keep it on. Do not close it because you have two more questions. Okay, we go to the next question. So what was the question? Which of the following are the computer components? Is you have hardware as a component, software as a component, users as a component. That means all the three are the answers. So you are supposed to select all of the above. So many of you have selected all of the above. Okay, do the next question. Write any one input device which you are aware of. Yes, keyboard is correct.
Ma'am, the code is same.
Mouse. CPU entirely cannot be an input device. Okay, scanner, good, correct. Joystick, correct. Webcam. Pen input, microphone, trackball, yes, correct. Scanner. Yes, so those have written CPU. CPU entirely cannot be considered as an input device. So that you need to remember. Okay, so we go to the next question. Which are the three main parts of the CPU? You have to select all which are the parts of the CPU. So we have three main parts which we just saw: ALU, control unit, and register. So ALU stands for arithmetic and logical unit, which does all your brain work and calculation. You have control unit, which will look after everything that is happening from the input taken till the output displayed. And register is used to store the data for a very fast retrieval, which is a part of your cache memory inside the processor itself. So all the three are the parts of the CPU. Okay. Okay, so we are done here. Let us begin with the new topic today. You can come back to your presentation screen now. So we have seen what are the parts of the CPU, what are the parts of the computer system. So we have seen what is the hardware part. Today we'll be seeing what is the memory part. Okay. So now what do you mean by a memory? A place where the data is going to get collected and it will be stored at that particular location. After the data is being stored, what is the user going to do with that data? It will retrieve that data after the processing is done. Retrieve the data means it will ask for the data in the form of a output. But what type of output will a user expect? The output which is done after the processing is being completed. So a memory is a place where your all kind of data is being stored. Now, how is that data stored? It is stored in the form of, again, a machine language, which is in the form of zeros and ones. But when it is shown to the user, it is again converted back from that machine language into a human language. So we have two types of memory inside a computer system: a primary memory and a secondary memory. Now, what is primary memory? Your RAM and ROM are considered to be as a primary memory, whereas your secondary memory is nothing but your hard disk, pen drives, your CDs, DVDs, all these are considered to be as your secondary memory. So we'll first see what is the primary memory. So the two types of primary memory are RAM and ROM. Now what does RAM stands for? It stands for random access memory. Now what is it, how it is going to store the data? The data which is stored inside the RAM is stored only for temporary purpose. Temporary purpose means what? If suppose I have opened a notepad, I have written 5 lines. But if I do not save that data, and if suppose my system crashes, or if the light goes off, or something happens, and if that data is not stored, so again, if I try to retrieve that data, I cannot get that data. Why? Because it was stored inside the RAM. It was not saved. And since RAM saves the data for the temporary purpose, I will never get to retrieve that data. But if suppose the same data is there inside your ROM, and even if you do not save that, and even if your system light goes off or something happens, you can always retrieve the data. So that is a very big difference between a RAM and a ROM. RAM will always store a data on a temporary basis if the data is not saved. But if you have already saved the data and then you are working on it, you can always retrieve it. And what is ROM going to do is, apart from saving or not saving, it will always save the data permanently inside your system. Therefore, this temporary and permanent data storage is also called as volatile and non-volatile. So your RAM is volatile in nature, which is the second point. What does that volatile means? It is going to store the data temporarily unless and until it is not saved by the user. It is not a responsibility of a system to save the data, but it is a responsibility of a user to save that data. Because once if the data is gone, user can never retrieve until and unless if it has a backup of it. Okay. So RAM stores the data randomly and a processor accesses this data randomly from a RAM storage. Now, why it is called as random access memory? Because what happens is, if I want to store any data, the data is stored with the help of some address. Now, if someone tells me, go to Jay's house, but if I do not know what is the address of a Jay, can I go to his place? No. So, but if I get an address that yes, Jay stays in Mulund, I can always go to that particular location. Yes, he stays in XYZ building, which is in Mulund. So, if I know this address, I can reach to that particular location. So, in the same way, your system works. If you have your memory location, you can always go to that memory location and access the data. But if you do not have a memory location, the system will never allow you to access the data. Now, this memory location is for whom? It is not for the user. It is for understanding of a system itself. System will only create an address. System will automatically save the data in that particular address. So once if a user gives a request, what will system first find? It will not find the data. It will find the address where the data is stored. So once if the address is captured, it will automatically capture the data. So why it is called random access memory? Because I can go to any of the memory location and I can access the data. Now, how your memory location starts? It starts from 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 zeros, and it keeps on continuing like 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 0, 3, and so on. So at a location 0, 0, 0, 0, I will have some data, say suppose integer A. Then at 0, 0, 0, 2, I will have some data called as integer B. At 0, 0, 0, 3, I will have a result of A plus B is equal to 5. So when a program starts its execution, and when it comes to a line int A, which is equal to 2, what it will first extract is not the data directly A is equal to 2, but it will find the memory location, which is 0, 0, 0, 0. After the memory location has been identified, it will go and extract the data. So like this, in your RAM, it is not necessary that I have to start accessing the data from 0, 0, 0, 0. If I want any data which is at a location 0, 2, 0, 0, that means at a place 200, I can directly go to that 200 and access the data. I do not have to start from 1, 2, 3, 4 and then reach at 200. That means I do not have to go sequentially. I can directly go to any memory location and extract the data. Therefore, it is called as random access memory. You can randomly go to any memory location and can access the data. Therefore, if you search for any particular document, when I type in my search as suppose ABC, which is a text file that I have created, it immediately gives you the file ABC. Why this is happening very fast? Because it is going to directly to that memory location where ABC is being stored. It is not going to go to the location 1, then see ABC hai kya usme, nahi hai to go to 2, nahi hai to go to 3. It is not doing this procedure. Therefore, it is called as random access memory. Now, are you aware how the memory cell is being stored? I'll show you how the memory is being stored. Just give me 1 minute. Is the Word file visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this, a structure like this is called as your memory cell. Okay. A structure like this is called as memory cell. What is this? You have 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Now, do you know what is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1? This might have been done in your DE. 0, 0 stands for number 0. I write over here if in case 0. 0, 1 is what? 1. 1, 0 is 2 and 1, 1 is 3. Do you know this?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is happening? This is a memory cell. Now, how do you make an address? What did I say? That your RAM will go to an address 0000 and it will take a data from there. So, how is this address being created? Ye 0000 address banta kaise hai? It is being made up from this memory cell. Okay. This entire thing is called as a memory cell and your address are made from this memory cell. What do you have? You have four columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 4. What is there in the first row? 0, 0. What is there in your first column? What is there in your first column? 0, 0. What is there in your next column is 0, 1. What is there in your next column? 1, 0. What is there in the last column? 1, 1. So now, what will be the address? I can reframe this. Just a minute. So your first is 0, 0, 0, 1. 0, 1, 1, 0, and then 1, 1. Okay. So this is your first memory cell, second memory cell, third memory cell, fourth memory cell. This will be your fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 14, 15, 16. Okay. So you have 4 columns, 4 rows, and you have 16 individual cells. Okay. Now, what will be the address of cell number 1? It will be the combination of first row and first column. So what is there at first row? 0, 0. What is there on the first column? 0, 0. So the address of memory cell 1 is 0, 0, 0, 0. Is this understood? What?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What will be the address of cell number 5? Second row, first column. So 0, 1, 0, 0. Okay. What is the address of cell number 9? I have come to third row, but I am still in the first column. So it is 1, 0, 0, 0. What will be the address of cell number 13? I have come to the fourth row. What is that fourth row? 1, 1. But I'm in which column? 0, 0. So it will be 0, 0. Now, if I want the address of cell number 8, what will be the address? I am on which row number? Row number 2. What is the memory address of row number 2? It is 0, 1. So I will write 0, 1. But I am in which column number? Column number 4. What is the address of column number 4? 1, 1. So it is 1, 1. So entire memory address is 0, 1, 1, 1. So what is happening? What is your RAM doing? if my file is stored abc.txt file is stored at a location memory cell number 8, it will not directly go and extract the file abc.txt, but it will first identify what is the address of abc.txt. So what is the address of abc.txt? It is 0111. So it will first retrieve 0111 and then it will retrieve the data abc.txt back to the user. So this is how your random access memory works. So to extract this data ABC, ये ABC अगर user को चाहिए, तो I will not first go into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and then 8. I will directly go to 8 number. I will take the address 0111 and I will extract this data and give it to the user. I will not touch any other memory cells from the entire unit. Okay, that is how your random access memory works. Is this clear? Everyone? Any one of you? Yash, Chauhan, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll go ahead. Okay. So that is how your random access memory works. You have a memory cell where each and every memory cell has an address, and whenever a user wants to access the data, it will first go to that particular address and it will access the data. Therefore it is called as random. You randomly go to any memory location, let it be 3, 10, 11, 16, any of them, and directly access the data. Therefore it is considered to be as random access. But what is only disadvantage of RAM is it is volatile in nature. What does that volatile means? That the data is stored for the temporary purpose until and unless it is not saved permanently by the user on the system. अगर यूजर ने सेव नहीं किया है तो सिस्टम के साथ कुछ भी हुआ, you will never be able to retrieve. But if a user have saved it, फिर वो सिस्टम के साथ कुछ भी हो जाए, you will always get the data back. Okay. Next is ROM. Now what is ROM? It stands for read only memory. Now what is that read only memory? As a name says, it is used only for reading. You cannot write into a ROM memory. But after this, there are many versions of ROM that you will see in the later chapters. I had already told you few of them. So it is EPROM, that is erasable programmable read only memory, which means you can erase it only once. एक बार erase किया, उसको वापस लिखो, उसके बाद आप वापस erase नहीं कर सकते. Then you have double EPROM, that is EEPROM, that is electronically erasable programmable read-only memory. That means you can again erase this, but you require a mechanism of ultraviolet rays to erase this particular contents. तो अभी आपके सिस्टम में भी रोम है, बट वो रोम में क्या टाइप का डेटा है? इट इज नथिंग बट योर ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. Is your system allowing you to erase the contents of operating system? No. User does not have any rights. Neither the admin of a system has a right to make the changes. ये रोम कौन लिख के देता है? The manufacturers. When you buy the computer system, आपके मदरबोर्ड पे you have a ROM chip. वो ROM chip में डेटा कौन लिख के देता है? They are the manufacturers who make the operating system. They store that operating system into your ROM. They convert it into a read-only memory, and they do not allow any user, let it be an admin user or a normal user, to make any changes. So example of your ROM can be the operating system, your device drivers. All these are the examples of the data which cannot be erased by the user, and therefore they are stored inside the ROM. So what is it? It is a permanent form of a storage. एक बार लिख लिया तो वो वैसे ही रहेगा. User have no rights to change them. ROM devices do not allow the data stored on them to be modified. To be modified means it does not allow any user to change that particular data. That is what is ROM. Both of these primary memories, that is RAM and ROM, where are they found? They are found in the motherboard of your system. One can be erased and written thousands of times by the user, but the other memory, which is ROM, cannot be written by the user. It can only be read. And one of the examples of this ROM is your operating system and device drivers. Okay. Next, we'll see what is secondary memory. Now we have seen what is primary memory, which is RAM and ROM. One is volatile, other is non-volatile. Your RAM is volatile. Volatile means temporary. Your ROM is permanent, which is called as non-volatile. Where are both of these? They are inside the motherboard of the system. Why they are called as primary? Because the data is first getting stored in your cache memory. अगर कैश मेमोरी में जगह नहीं है तो वो किधर जाके स्टोर हो रहा है? बाय डिफॉल्ट इन योर प्राइमरी मेमोरी विच इज इनसाइड योर रैम. देयरफॉर इट इज कॉल्ड एज प्राइमरी बिकॉज इमीडिएटली सिस्टम बाय डिफॉल्ट डेटा किधर स्टोर कर रहा है? आपके फर्स्ट मेमोरी में. वो फर्स्ट मेमोरी कौन सा है? आपका रैम. दैट देयरफॉर इट इज कॉल्ड एज प्राइमरी. अगर उसमें जगह नहीं है देन वी गो टू द सेकेंडरी विच इज योर हार्ड डिस्क or which may be your pen drives or which may be your CDs. So all your optical drives, your hard disk, your pen drives are considered to be as a secondary memory. Now in this you do not have anything like permanent and temporary. जो भी आप स्टोर करते हो आपके हार्ड डिस्क पे that is saved in the form of permanent only. Okay, अगर आप CD में कुछ सेव कर रहे हो तो अगर आप CD सिस्टम से बाहर निकाल दोगे तो this does not mean that your data is lost. Again, if you put that CD, you can get your data. Same thing is there with your pen drive. If you're copying some folders in your pen drive, you can always remove that pen drive, reinsert it, and take that data back. So the data is stored in the permanent basis onto any of your secondary devices. So which are the two devices that are being explained over here are hard drive. That is nothing but your hard disk. Okay, you might have been studied this in your CPM. The place where the hard disk is inserted is called as HDD. What is that HDD? Hard disk drive. The place where your hard disk is being inserted. And then you have CD drive or a floppy drive. Floppy drive was being seen in the olden computers. Now they are being replaced only with the CDs. So the optical disc, what are those optical discs? They are nothing but CDs and DVDs. So your CD and DVDs are termed into a category called as optical disc. So both of them are considered to be as a secondary memory. अगर आपका cache memory full हो गया है, so you store the data in RAM. If your RAM is also filled up, and if you cannot delete anything from your RAM, you can always store the data in your hard disk or into your CDs. Why do we have this hierarchy of cache memory and then RAM and then secondary? Because of the storage or because of the size. Cache memory is very small. Then you have your RAM in KBs. Nowadays you get it in GB also. And your hard disk you get in GB and TB also. Okay. So this is what is your secondary memory. So your data in your hard disk and your optical disks, which are nothing but CDs and DVDs, can be stored in the permanent basis. Now, every one of you might have seen the hard disk in your CPM. Your hard disk has a platers. That is a circular disk. What is that circular disk called? They are called as platers. Where is that data stored in your hard disk? They are stored on the plater. Above the plater, you have a read-write hand. If you can see my video, you will be having a plater like this, a circular, which has a read-write head. Your read-write head keeps on moving. So what is the function of that read-write head? To read and write the data. How is the data going to be read? As and when this disk keeps on moving. Okay, so that disk is called as plater, where the data is stored. And who will be the reading and writing that data? It is nothing but the read-write header. Okay, so you might have seen all this in your CPM. And if it is optical disk, your disk consists of sectors and tracks. Your entire disk is divided into different tracks, and those tracks are divided into different sectors. And where is that data stored? It is stored on those tracks. Again, how it is being read? It is being read by the form of the laser lights. Okay, as and when the light falls, the data is being captured and then it is being retrieved to the users. Okay, this is how the reading work is done in your secondary memory. If it is hard disk, data is in plater. If it is CDs, your data is in the form of track and sectors. Your reading writing work is done by the read-write head if it is hard disk, and the reading writing work is done with the help of a laser light if it is optical disk, right? Next is the difference between RAM and hard disk. So before we write the differences, we have seen what is primary memory and what is secondary memory. Now I want you all to give me at least 3 points of difference between RAM and hard disk. Write it in your notebook. I will ask any one of you to tell me the 3 differences. I give you 1 minute for this. Write a difference between RAM and hard disk. Okay. So Krishnam, can you tell me one difference? Any 1 point? On your camera, tell me the answer.
Ma'am, RAM is fast but volatile, and hard disk drive is non-volatile.
Okay, you cannot write like that. You can reframe this as the in RAM, the data is stored on temporary purpose, where in the hard disk we can have permanent data storage. See, volatile and non-volatile is only defined to RAM and ROM. You cannot use non-volatile for hard disk. Okay, so you should reframe the sentence. Mrudul, next difference.
Ma'am, RAM is also known as the primary memory, whereas hard disk is the secondary memory of the computer.
Okay. Parth, Parth Savla. Parth Savla, are you there? Pooja Patil. Pratham. Yes.
RAM is costly per unit storage and HDD is cheap per unit.
RAM is costly and
HDD is cheap.
no, if you compare RAM and hard disk is much costlier and your RAM is much cheaper as in comparison to them. So you swap the 2 points. जो आपने RAM के लिए लिखा है वो हार्ड डिस्क के लिए, जो हार्ड डिस्क के लिए लिखा है वो RAM के लिए लिख दो. Then next, Sahil. Sahil, any difference that you have? Shrey Gandhi.
Yes, ma'am.
Any difference?
RAM is the main memory and HDD is the secondary memory.
Okay. So we have already, this point is already discussed. Okay. So now I'll show you what is the difference. if we see the difference in the RAM and the hard disk, your RAM is considered to be as a memory, whereas your hard disk is considered to be purely a storage. Not exactly a memory, but it is a type of a storage. Majorly, it is used for storage purpose. Therefore, we have written it as a storage. Next, the data in the RAM can be stored for some small amount, that is only up till GB. But in hard disk, we can store large amount of data, that is ranging from GB up till TB. Okay. Then in RAM, the data is stored for temporary purpose, whereas in hard disk, the data is stored for permanent purpose. Now, your RAM, a little like your real computer, has your current work on it, which means what? Current work on it, which means what? If I am working on a notepad and if I do not save that, I am going to lose the contents. Whereas in a hard disk, even if I do not do that procedure, the data will be there inside my system. Therefore, it is also called as temporary and permanent. Okay. Again, the same point is repeated. The contents disappear if your power goes off, whereas the content remains even if your power goes off. They will only get removed when you are going to delete it by yourself from the hard disk. If you do not delete it, फिर उस पे कुछ भी पानी भी गिरा, कोक भी गिरा या फिर light भी गया, तो भी your data will be there as it is. In your RAM, how is the data stored? It is stored on those black chips called as banks. Whereas in hard disk, where is your data stored? I just explained, it is stored on those platters. When you want to use a program, a temporary copy is being made and brought inside your RAM. That means if I want to execute my data, where is that data temporarily being brought? It has to be brought inside the RAM. Whereas if it is hard disk, it is executed directly from the hard disk. Now this point will get clear to you more in detail as we go ahead. So right now, just remember, if I want to execute anything from the system, I have to bring that data on the RAM first. If the data is brought on the RAM, then only it can be executed by the processor. Agar data RAM pe nahi aaya hai, to processor will never execute. Okay, remember this will get clear as we go ahead. Okay, so we have seen what is the difference between your primary and the secondary memory. So with this, we complete the memory part of the computer system. So we have done with the hardware part, that is your CPU unit, ALU, control unit, and register. We have seen what are the memories, primary and secondary. Now we'll be seeing what are the output devices. We have already seen what are the input devices. What are input device? Whatever we want to give input to a system, that transfer of data from the user end to the system end is done by the input device. But what is output device? If a computer wants to show something to a user, how will a computer show that? It will show with the help of the output device. So what it is written? It is an equipment which is used to communicate the result of the data processing carried out by an information processing system, which means what? यूजर ने इनपुट दे दिया, उसके बाद सिस्टम ने प्रोसेस कर लिया, बट हाउ इज दैट डेटा अगेन गिवन बैक टू द यूजर in the form of a result? It is given by the output devices. So what it is going to do, it will convert the electronic data back into which language? A human readable form. So system will not give me the output in the form of zeros and ones, but it will convert that 0 and 1 into a human readable form. So what are the different output devices? We can see output from the monitor. We can see output from the LCD projector panels. Now you might be know what is projectors. The one which are displayed in our classrooms are nothing but the projector. Can you see the output from that projector? Yes. What do you get to see is the screen which your teacher is presenting from her own laptop. Okay. Then you have printers. What is printer? You give a soft copy, but it will give you output in a form of a hard copy. That is what is printer. Then you have computer output microfilm. What is computer output microfilm? Everyone knows what is camera. Abhi camera kya hai? We click a photo and we get to see it digitally. But in previous times, if I have clicked the photo, I get to see that photo in a form of a hard copy also, जो अभी आपके सबके albums में रहेंगे. So how are those output of the photos being generated? They are generated with an output device called as computer output microfilm. So what is the function of that microfilm? To convert those images into a form of a hard copy. Okay, then next we have plotters. Now what is the difference between printer and plotter? Printer also generates a hard copy. Plotter also generates a hard copy. But printer is in a size of a page, whereas plotter is a size of your advertisement. When you travel through a road, you get to see many big hoardings. There is a sale in this and this mall. Then there is flat 50 in so and so restaurant. Then some another advertisement of some movies, another advertisement of some web series. So how are those big posters being generated as output? For that we cannot make use of printer, we make use of a plotter. So if there are big banners, आपके जो college festival में भी बड़े बड़े banners display होते हैं, from where they are being generated from the output device called as plotters. Okay, then you are aware about the projectors. And last is a speaker. If I want to hear some sound, some audio, how is that audio being audible to you? With the help of a speaker. So all these devices are considered to be as an output devices. So something from where you can see, all those devices are considered to be as a output devices. Then next we'll see what is software. We have seen what are the hardware, that is input output devices. We have seen the CPU, we have seen the memory. So all these were the hardware part of your computer system. Now what are we going to see is the software part. Okay, what is software? It is a collection of a computer data and instructions broken into two categories. Which are those two categories? System software and application software. So any instruction, int A, what is that? It is an instruction. So it is considered to be as a software. Int A, int B, A is equal to 2, B is equal to 3, C is equal to A plus B, store C. Again, what are all these instructions? It is a program. What is that program? It is a software. Okay. So whatever instructions you are giving or whatever request a user is giving, that request is nothing but a software part which your system is going to process. Now, all these instructions or all these programs are divided into two types of softwares, which are those, a system and an application. Now, what is system? The one which are being already developed and given to you. Which are application? The one which you develop on your own for your own needs are considered to be application. Now, we'll see what is system software. Your system servers, device drivers, operating systems, your GUI, all these are considered to be system software. Now what was happening previously, when the coding was not in that demand, we did not know how to code for an operating system. We did not know how to make a GUI. But now since the technology is processing, your users are now aware how to make a GUI, but they are still not aware how to make an operating system. So such kind of softwares which are coming from the manufacturer end are considered to be as a system software. So now you and me still do not know how to make an operating system or how to write a code for operating system or from where to get the code for the operating system. So all this is considered to be as a system software. अगर मैंने एक नया हार्डवेयर डिवाइस बनाया है, say suppose I've created a stylus, but I do not know how to provide that support of a stylus on all the devices. That is device drivers. अगर मेरे को नया, if I want to insert any new device, I also require a driver for that. So code for that driver I am not aware of, neither you are aware of. So again, that kind of software or that kind of code is considered to be as a system software. Okay, so how does the definition say? It is responsible for controlling, integrating, and managing the hardware components. What is the operating system doing? It is managing all the hardware that is there on the system. What is device driver doing? It is managing the hardware that you have just inserted. So it is not only managing, but it is also controlling all the work that is done by that particular device. So such kind of work done by any of the software is considered to be as a system software. Now what are application software? The one which can be designed by the user for its own need. Okay, now if I want to design a calculator which will do only 4 functions: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Can I design a calculator of my own? Yes, I can do it by using C language, C++, Java, Android. If I know any of these programming language, I can design it. So that calculator will be called as what? Application software. Why? Because I have designed it for my own purpose. Microsoft Word. Why is this Word being designed? So that a user can type their documents easily, they can share them, they can edit them, they can delete them, they can do whatever they want. So it was designed for the need of a user. So any application or any software which is designed for the user's need by the users are considered to be as a application software. So apart from operating system, system servers, and device driver, whatever else you can see on your computer, calculator, web browser, word processor, any database, any Excel, any Access, any PowerPoint, all of these are nothing but your application software. So for your system to work, your system should have a hardware, your system should have a user, and your system should have a software also. But which software? It should have both the operating system software, which is nothing but the system software, and it should have a application software also. Okay, so your entire computer system will work if it has a hardware, if it has system software, if it has application software, and if it has user. Okay, any one of this is not there, your system will not be able to work. Is that clear? So this is what is a software part. So any instruction we give to the computer, that instruction is considered to be as a software. And to execute that instruction, I require system software as well as I require application software also. Is this clear? Every one of you clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we move to the next topic, that is von Neumann architecture. Now your computer system is based on some architecture. What is that architecture on which it is based? It is based on the von Neumann architecture. Now you have two types of computers. Whichever computers are developed so far, all those computers fall in two categories. Okay, what are those two categories? A fixed program and a stored program. What is fixed program? Once whatever I have written, I have fixed that. I cannot change. वो उसी के हिसाब से काम करेगा. अगर मुझे change करना है तो I have to develop it again. That is what is fixed. What do you mean by store? You have made something and you have written. You can change it anytime whenever you want. Okay, so I can tell this in the terms of RAM and ROM. ROM क्या हो गया? Fixed हो गया. एक बार लिख लिया तो लिख लिया. मुझे I cannot do any changes into that. So such type of computers are called as fixed program, which means what? If I have, for example, as it is written calculator over here. So if I want to, if I have made this calculator with 4 operations, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So what will happen? अगर मुझे next operation add करना है, suppose comparison का, so I cannot add it in the same code. I have to copy that code again and I have to make a separate application for it. That is what is a fixed program. एक बना दिया है तो आप उसी में changes नहीं कर सकते. But what is stored program? मैंने calculator बना लिया with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Now if I want to add a comparison, I do not have to copy it and make a separate calculator, but I can always add the extra function into the existing program itself. That is what is called as stored program. So that is a difference. Fixed है मतलब it is fixed. You cannot do any change. But if at all you want to do a change, आपको वही चीज का नया product बनाना पड़ेगा. But what is stored program? You can always keep on changing in the existing work that you have done. That is what is a fixed program and a stored program. So whatever computers we are using these days are the part of a stored program concept. Are they a part of a stored program? Yes. You open today a Word file, you type anything, you save. कल आके वही program, वही instructions आप वापस type करते हो क्या? नहीं. You simply add to that particular lines. So that is what is a stored program. So your von Neumann structure, which was introduced by John von Neumann, previously was in the terms of fixed program. But abhi ke jo computers hai, all those computers are based on stored program. That means you come, you make changes today, again you can come tomorrow, you can add into those changes, again you can come next day, and you can keep on adding. You do not have to repeat the work again and again. Okay. Now we are talking something since so long that program hai, instruction hai. But what are these programs and what are these instruction? Remember this is very important definition, and you have to remember this until and unless you do not complete your computer engineering. Okay. What are those two terms, program and instruction? What is a program? It is a set of instruction. I repeat, program and instruction are two separate words, but your instruction is a part of your program. You have written so many programs in C, addition of two numbers. तो ये addition of two number क्या है? Program है. But वो program के अंदर आपने एक ही line लिखी है क्या? नहीं. You have written multiple lines. So those multiple lines are what? They are nothing but the instruction. So your program is a set of instruction. What is that instruction? Each single line is called as a instruction. So when you give this program to a computer, computer does not execute a program. It executes instructions of the program. I repeat, a program has too many lines. Those too many lines are called as instructions. And when you give this instruction to a computer, computer does not execute a program. They execute individual instructions. Is that clear? Therefore, it is written as program is a set of machine instruction. An instruction is a form of a code which supplies the information about the operation and the data on which the operation is performed. So I have a program int a is equal to 2, int b is equal to 3, c is equal to a plus b, store the result c. So what is this entire, all the 5 lines? It is program. How many instruction do I have in that program? I have 5 instruction. Integer a equal to b, a equal to 2, b equal to 3, a is equal to b plus, c is equal to a plus b, and then store the result as c. Okay. So what will that system do? It will first execute a equal to 2, then it will execute b equal to 3, then it will do c is equal to 2 plus 3, generate the result 5, and store that 5 into c. Okay. So that is a difference between your instruction and a program. So how do you define the program? It is nothing but a set of a machine instruction or set of instructions. Now, what are the components of this von Neumann architecture? What did I say? That we are going to study a von Neumann architecture, which means what? Your computers which are developed so far are based on some architecture. What is that architecture? A von Neumann architecture. So what are the units? Von Neumann architecture के अंदर कौन से units है? First, so it will have all the 3 components of a computer. Why? Because it is a computer, so it should have a hardware, it should have a software, and it should have a user. Now again, these hardware and software are broken into sub-components. So kaun sa hai? Input. You have input unit, output unit, ALU, control unit, and memory unit. So this is what I have divided my hardware into: input, output, ALU, control unit, and memory unit. Apart from this, I will have a user, and also I will have a software. Which 2 software? The system software also and the application software also. Okay. So we have started with von Neumann architecture. It is a person who has developed this architecture. The name of that person was John von Neumann. Therefore, the architecture name is also von Neumann. What are the parts of this architecture? We have hardware, software, and user. Hardware is divided into input unit, output unit, ALU, control unit, and memory unit. We have seen the software part, which has system software and application software. We know who the users are. Okay, we'll be seeing the hardware into detail now, out of which we know what is input, what is output, what is ALU, what is control, and what is memory unit. But we'll specifically see what are the individual terms inside each of them. So now it is 12:03 in my watch. We take a break of 10 minutes and we come back at 12:10 again. Okay, you can keep the meeting on with mute and you can take a break of 10 minutes. Okay, we return back at 12:10. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Dishank, there no? We come back at 12:10.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so we start with the units of von Neumann architecture. So we have seen that it has input unit, output unit, ALU, control unit, and a memory unit. We'll see one units one by one. First is an input unit. What is that input unit going to do? It will act as a input device which will take the inputs from the user. Okay, so it accepts the data from the input devices and it will read the data. So once the user has given the input, it will start accepting the input and it will read the data. So how is that input given? It can be given from any kind of input devices. For example, here we might consider it as a keyboard, but I can also give the input from my mouse. I can also give an input from the scanner. So let it be any input given from any kind of the device. It is going to read that particular data. Now, if it is a keyboard, whenever a key is pressed, the corresponding letter or a digit is translated into a code and it is sent to a processor. Now, suppose a user has given an input from a keyboard. So what will our user do? A user will always type the keys. What is that? Whenever the keys are pressed, what is going to happen? Those keys have an individual code. That keys will get converted into the codes and the system will understand with the help of that code that which particular letter was being pressed. And then it will recognize that letter and type that letter on the screen. This is how your input device is going to function. So the input unit will do what? It will accept the data from the user. It will read the data which is given by the user from any kind of input device. So if your input device is a keyboard, and if a user has pressed any type of a key, that key will be converted into a code. The code will be recognized by the system and it will be displayed as a letter again back to the screen for the user. Okay. So now you know what are the different types of the input devices: keyboard, mouse, print, scanner, your webcam, joystick, trackball, all these are what? They are the input devices. Now, what is the second unit? It is the output unit. What is the function of output unit? It has to process the data. That means the CPU will process the data and provide that data to the user on the screen in the form of a information. Why in the form of a information? Because your input is called as data and your output is called as information. So once the input is given, after the processing is done, it is a responsibility of output device to generate the result in the form of a information to the user. Okay. So we know what are the output devices. We just saw them: printer, plotter, your microfilm, your projector, monitor, speakers. All these are considered to be as your output devices. Now next was the ALU unit. We have somewhat seen what is your ALU unit. It is a part of which unit? It is a part of your CPU. What does the ALU stand for? It stands for arithmetic and logic unit. So arithmetic and logic unit, ALU, is a part of your CPU. What function does your ALU do? It is the brain of your CPU which will be performing all the types of calculations like additions, subtraction, multiplication, logical comparison, logical and, logical or. All such type of calculations will be done by ALU. Shift operations, all what you can see over here is addition, subtraction, comparison, logical operations like bit shifting, arithmetic. All this will be done by ALU. How they will be done, that we will be seeing in the second lesson by using the algorithms. Okay, so how your ALU does addition, does subtraction, does multiplication, that will be seeing in the second lesson. Okay, now if you see the diagram over here, I have my memory, I have a CPU, and I have a bus structure. If you remember, I had told you in the first lecture of introduction that bus is a component which is going to take your data from one part to another part. Where is your data? In the memory. वो डेटा किसके पास जाएगा? CPU के पास. क्यों जाएगा? To execute. After the execution is done, it will be given to whom? To the output device for displaying. So who is going to take the data from memory to CPU? It is a bus. Who will take the data from CPU to output device? It is a bus. So we have different types of buses. What are those buses? The first bus is the address bus, if you can see in the diagram. What is a function of an address bus? As I just said you, we have a memory cell. Every data is accessed by the memory location. What is that memory location called? It is nothing but called as a address. तो वो address 0000 कौन लाके देगा? It will be given by the address bus. But उसके अंदर जो data है a is equal to 2, वो कौन लाके देगा? A separate bus called as data bus. So your address bus will carry only the address, that is 0000, but your data bus will carry the data which is a is equal to 2 stored inside the address 0000. And who will be controlling the function of address and the data bus is the control bus. Okay, so you have 3 buses for this diagram. You have many such buses. We'll see all those buses in detail later. But right now, just remember, address bus is used to carry the address from one point to another point. Data bus is used to carry only data from one point to another point. And control bus is used to control the function of the address bus and the data bus. Okay. Now, these buses are used when there is a communication between memory and CPU, or there is a communication between CPU and memory. So whenever memory is communicating with CPU and CPU is communicating with memory, which are the 3 buses that we are using? Address bus, data bus, and control bus. Okay, this memory can be any memory. Okay, it may be your primary memory or it may be your secondary memory. तो memory और CPU के बीच में जो भी communication होता है, it is going to accomplish only by 3 buses: address bus, data bus, and control bus. Now, if you see the right hand side of the diagram, what is this part? I have IO over here, IO devices. IO devices matlab input and output. User will give the input, it will be processed by the CPU, and it will be stored in the memory. After it is stored in the memory, it will be given to the output device to display it in the display back to the user. So the communication between any IO device and the CPU will be done by whom? By this bus. What is that bus called as? IO bus. So we have 4 types of buses in this diagram. 3 buses are used for communication between memory and CPU, and 1 bus is used between the communication of IO devices and the CPU. Is that clear up till here? Mayuri?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so we have 4 buses: address, data, control to communicate between memory and CPU, and IO bus to communicate between IO devices and CPU. Okay. Now, if you see in this CPU, we have many small components. ALU, जो हमको पता है. What is that ALU? It will perform all the arithmetic and logical functions. Then we also know what are these register, general purpose register. What are register? It is used to store the data temporarily. Why is this data stored temporarily? Because they can be retrieved faster as they are part of the CPU. Can you see? It is inside the CPU. So what is this? It is a cache memory where the data is stored inside the register, and it can be retrieved in the faster basis. Then we also know what is this CU. What is that? Control unit. Who is going to control this ALU, PC, IR, MAR, MDR, this memory, this IO devices? ये सब कुछ कौन control करेगा? It will be controlled by the control unit. So ALU, CU, and register, these are the 3 main parts of the CPU that we have seen. Now, apart from this, we have PC, IR, MAR, MDR, CU, and accumulator also. Now, what are these that we will just see in detail? Okay. Then we have IO bus. Why is this bus used? For communication between IO devices and CPU. What is this IO interface? It is just used as a wire for connecting the IO device to the IO bus. जो भी IO devices है, आपकी जो भी input output device है, वो CPU को कैसे connect होती है? बस से, IO बस से. बट IO बस को वो कनेक्ट कैसे करेगी? विद द हेल्प ऑफ अ वायर. एंड व्हाट इज दैट वायर कॉल्ड? IO इंटरफेस. ओके, so a wire which connects the IO devices with the IO bus is called as IO interface. So if I have 10 devices, I will have 10 IO interfaces. Is that clear? What are these devices? This may be any output and input device, keyboard, monitor, printer, scanner, jo bhi hai, I can use all of the devices. Okay, now we will see what are the parts of the CPU. What is this PC? It stands for program counter. Now we already know what is the definition of program counter. What it is going to do, it will always point the next instruction to be executed. तो अगर मेरे प्रोग्राम में 5 इंस्ट्रक्शन है तो इंस्ट्रक्शन पॉइंटर मूव कौन करेगा एक इंस्ट्रक्शन से दूसरे इंस्ट्रक्शन पे? इट विल बी डन बाय द प्रोग्राम काउंटर. Then we have something called as IR, called as instruction register. We have something called as MAR, memory address register. We also have something called as MDR, memory data register. And then we have accumulator. Now what is all this? We will see. What is the first part? Accumulator. Accumulator क्या करेगा? It will store the result. ALU ने क्या किया? A plus B is equal to C. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 किया. ये 5 किधर स्टोर होगा? It will go and store it in the accumulator. Okay. Once it is displayed on your output screen, accumulator से निकल जाएगा. So if you remember in the first lecture, I had told you something called as buffer memory. What is the other name of that buffer memory? It is accumulator. It is used for storing the data temporarily. Once the data has been displayed on the screen to the user, it will be removed from the accumulator. So 2 plus 3, जो ALU ने calculate किया है, equal to 5. Where is that 5 going to get stored? Inside the accumulator. Clear? Next, we know what is program counter. What is program counter? It will keep on telling me which is the next instruction to be executed. वो सिर्फ बताएगा कि कौन सा इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट करना है, बट कौन एग्जीक्यूट करेगा? आपका ALU ही एग्जीक्यूट करेगा. वो सिर्फ ALU को बता रहा है कि ये करने के बाद आपको ये करना है, ये करने के बाद आपको ये करना है. ओके, सो इट इज जस्ट एक्टिंग एज अ पॉइंटर. दैट इज व्हाट इज प्रोग्राम काउंटर. And when after it is pointing to that particular location, where is that data going? The data is going to memory address register. तो ये डायग्राम में जो MAR है ना, तो ये PC क्या करेगा? वो जो इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट करना है उसका एड्रेस किस में रहता है? Address is stored in the memory address register. Therefore, the name is memory address register. It stores the memory location of an instruction that has to be executed. तो 0000 ये डेटा, ये जो लोकेशन है 0000, वो किधर स्टोर है? वो आपके मेमोरी एड्रेस रजिस्टर में स्टोर है. तो प्रोग्राम काउंटर क्या पॉइंट कर रहा है? int b is equal to 3. बट int b is equal to 3 कौन से लोकेशन पे है? 0000. वो लोकेशन कौन बताएगा? वो लोकेशन बताएगा मेमोरी एड्रेस रजिस्टर. Okay, so this is pointing the instruction. This is telling that instruction is at this particular address. But वो address पे जो data है b is equal to 3, वो किधर store है? वो store है आपके memory data register में. So it stores the instruction fetched from the memory or any data to be transferred to the memory. Which means what? This is only pointing. Address register is storing only the address. And your data is stored inside the memory data register. तो अगर ALU को कोई भी इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट करना है तो वो इंस्ट्रक्शन कौन सा है वो कौन बताएगा? प्रोग्राम काउंटर. उसका लोकेशन किधर है वो कौन बताएगा? मेमोरी एड्रेस रजिस्टर. और कौन सा इंस्ट्रक्शन है? b is equal to b is equal to 3. Who is going to tell that? It is memory data register. Is this all the 3 things clear? In short, remember, pointing instruction is by program counter, address will be given by memory address register, and the data b is equal to 3, c is equal to 6, a is equal to 2. Who is going to tell you? Memory data register. Then you have something called as current instruction register, that is IR and BR. What is that current instruction register? It stores the most recently fetched instruction. Now I have a program which has 5 instructions. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 3, A plus B is equal to C. बट इसमें से करंटली कौन सा एग्जीक्यूट हुआ है? सपोज A is equal to 2 एग्जीक्यूट हुआ है, तो वो किधर स्टोर होगा? CIR में. एग्जीक्यूट होने के बाद इंस्ट्रक्शन किधर जाके स्टोर होंगे? करंट इंस्ट्रक्शन रजिस्टर में. सो इफ आई वांट टू चेक कि मेरा प्रोग्राम का एग्जीक्यूशन किधर तक हुआ है, सो वेयर आई एम सपोज टू गो एंड चेक? इन द करंट इंस्ट्रक्शन रजिस्टर. तो करंट इंस्ट्रक्शन रजिस्टर क्या बोलता है? A is equal to 2, which means what? I have executed only first line up till now. When I execute B is equal to 3, which instruction will get stored in the current instruction register? A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 3. So what will I understand as a processor? That A is equal to 2 is executed, B is equal to 3 is also executed. So what is current instruction register? जो भी execute हो चुके हैं recently will be stored inside the current instruction register. Is this clear up till here? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Next, instruction buffer register. Now what is instruction buffer register? The instruction that is not to be executed immediately is placed in the instruction buffer register. What is my program? A equal to 2, B equal to 3, A plus B equal to C. A equal to 2 executed. किधर स्टोर होगा? CIR में. But what will I have in IBR up till then? B is equal to 3 and A plus B is equal to C. Okay. What is CIR? जो execute हो चुका है वो उधर है. जो execute नहीं हुआ है वो किधर है? Instruction buffer register में. So what is your ALU going to do? It will pick the instruction from instruction buffer register, take the data from memory data register, take the address from memory address register. After it is executed, it will store the result in accumulator and store the instruction in current instruction register. ये पूरा procedure होने के बाद it will check which is the next instruction the program counter is pointing. तो वो instruction पे जाएगा. Again it will pick that second instruction from IBR, take the address from MAR, take the data from MDR, store the result into accumulator and store the completed instruction execution into CIR. Is this clear up till here, everyone? Should I repeat anything?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Understood.
Understood? What about others? This is very important, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm assuming everyone has understood.
Yes,
So we have seen what is input unit, we have seen what is output unit, and we have also seen now what is your control unit. What is ALU? It will do the brain work. Program counter will point the next instruction. IR, I have current instruction register, which will tell me which are the instructions which has completed the execution recently. MAR, that is memory address register, will tell me from where I have to take the address. MDR, memory data register, will tell me which data you have to execute. Control unit, बाकी सब चीजों का working संभालेगा. Accumulator will store the result. And general purpose register. What is this general purpose register? It will store the data for the faster retrieval whenever it is asked by the user. Okay, so we have seen the memory also. We have primary and secondary. We know what are the input devices, and all these 3 units are connected to each other with the help of 4 buses. Memory connected to CPU with address, data and control, and IO connected to CPU with the IO bus. Okay,
Ma'am,
is this clear up till here?
ma'am.
We will just see once again what is memory unit. A main memory is needed in a computer to store the instruction and data after the execution of a program. The information is stored in the memory cell in binary digit. We have seen how that memory cell looks and what are the binary digits, row and column comparison. Each memory location has a unique address. We have also seen how that unique address is generated. You have to take 2 digits of row and 2 digits of column, and all the 4 digits will make a unique address. The amount of the data transmitted between CPU and memory depends on the bus which is connecting the two. So if I want to take address, who will get activated? Address bus. If I want to take data, who will get activated? Data bus. But दोनों में से जो भी बस एक्टिवेट हो रहा है उसके साथ कंट्रोल बस भी एक्टिवेट होगा. Why? Because control bus is going to control the address and the data bus. Is this clear up till here, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
So now you have to give a online test. Go to this link. I will copy paste this link on the chat box. If at all I can. Stop presenting for that. I'll put that link on the chat box. Till then, please wait. Yes, please open this link. Type your name. It will ask you for the password. I will also write the password. CO, small c, small o. Are you able to open? Is it open? Please put your mics on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Start the test. I'll see who all are giving the answers. Start the test. Can you see the questions? Any one of you?
No,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, no? Yeah, start.
Ma'am,
Yes.
do we have to type the input in capitals or small?
No. If you type capital, it will accept. If you write small, also it will accept. I have kept answers as both. But not everything capital. First letter capital.
Yes, ma'am.
Or better you type small. Those who have done, at least say any one of you one has done, so that I will come to you.
I'm on
Done?
7th.
Who has done?
And last question.
Okay. You have a D lecture at 1 o'clock. Huh? Please make it fast so that you don't miss it.
Done, ma'am.
Done? Who has done? Tell me your name.
Nishit Saura.
Nishid. Yes, yeah, done. You
Done,
got your
ma'am.
score?
Yes, ma'am.
You got your score, Nishit?
Yes, ma'am.
Seventh question is wrong. Yeah, okay, I can see.
Done,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Those who have done can
Done,
leave
ma'am.
the meeting, take a break. Have your lunch in next 20 minutes and join back for the. Those who have done can leave.
Ma'am, done.
Okay.
Ma'am, done.
Yes. Akash, Nair, Dishank, Hitesh, Kenneth,
Yes.
Nishit, Om, Parth, Tahir.
Done, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, done.
Yeah. Sanika, Shushant.
Ma'am, done.
Okay. Those who have done can leave. We'll
Yes.
be meeting again on next Thursday. So I've taken yesterday's and today's lecture combined. Okay? Bolo. If you have any doubts, we can keep up for the next lecture.
Ma'am, done.
Yeah.
Ma'am, done.
Okay.
Ma'am, done.
Ma'am, we can leave, right?
Yes, yes. You can leave. Your attendance is taken.
Ma'am, done.
Yeah. So those who have given the test is also assumed that they have attended. So that way also I can take
Ma'am,
attendance.
done.
Yeah.
Jai Salam.
मैम
Yes.
मैम रैम का फुल फॉर्म सब स्मॉल में लिखना है कि कुछ कैपिटल में लिखना है?
छोटा लिखो, छोटा लिखो.
Ma'am, done.
Yeah.
Ma'am, done. Can we
Okay.
leave? Ma'am, done.
Yes, you can leave. We'll be meeting again on next Thursday.
Ma'am, done.
Okay. Whatever doubts you have noted down in your book, we will solve it in the next lecture.
Hello, ma'am.
हाँ.
मैम और एक बार लिंक पोस्ट कर सकते हो मेरा नेट इशू के इसके लिए मैं बाहर गया था
बाहर क्यों गए थे?
मैम अभी इंडेक्स बॉक्स में कुछ दिख ही नहीं रहा इसके लिए
हाँ, मैंने चैट बॉक्स पे डाला है लिंक.
मैम वही दिख ही नहीं रहा है अभी
वापस डालूं?
हाँ मैम वही वापस डालो
Ma'am, completed.
Okay, you can leave if you have completed.
मैम डन
Okay.
मॅडम डन
Ma'am,
Okay.
done.
Okay.
Ma'am,
हा डेंजर आहे आपला चला साइड अरे जरा वेळ थांब ना मॅम डन
Hmm. वर्षिल.
मॅम डन
Hmm.
मैम डन
मॅम
Ma'am, done.
Okay.
Ma'am, done.
Okay, leave. Krishnam, if you have done, you can leave. Mayuri, Prutu, Shushant, Taha, Yash Chauhan, Yash Solanki. If you have done, leave. Yes, Mayuri, Om and Prutu. If you have done, please leave. I want to save the results.
Ma'am,
Parth done?
yes,
Okay.
ma'am, अभी हुआ.
Mayuri and Prutu, please switch on your mic and tell me.
Ma'am,
Yeah, Parth, leave.
can I
Parth,
leave?
leave.
Okay, ma'am.
1 minute.
Mayuri,
1 minute. Ma'am, 1 minute. I was having.
Mayuri and Prutu, show me your faces. Turn on your video.
I was having some network issues.
What? I can't hear you.
I was having some. Just a minute.
Huh.
I'm complete.
Done, both of you.
Ma'am, I've
Okay,
done.
Shakira, you can leave. Mayuri, what about you?
Okay, ma'am.
Mayuri, I can't hear you. Please write it in the chat. Mayuri, done?
Ma'am,
Okay,
done.
Prutu, you can leave.
Ma'am, actually, I have network
Okay, you
issue.
can.
I'm at
Yeah,
my
you try
native
later.
place.
Go have your lunch now. Join the DE lecture and do it after that. Just show me your video once.
Okay, ma'am.
I just want to see who are you. If you can just put the video on.
I've put it, ma'am.
नहीं, I can't see you. हाँ, okay, ठीक है. बाद में करो मयूरी, no problem. Okay, where are you? Are you
Okay, ma'am.
attending
Thank
lecture
you.
from outside?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I'm at my native place.
Okay, no issues. Whenever you get the network, do it at that time. Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. See you next Thursday. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, bye.